So how do you hold the golf club and why is it even important? In this video, I'm going to explain why getting your hands on the club correctly is going to help increase your club face control, help you hit the ball straighter and hit the ball a bit further. Your grip is really the only connection you've got to the club, so it's important that you get this bit right. And if you get this bit wrong, you are going to be compensating later in the swing, which is going to affect your distance, your accuracy and your consistency. So let's get this right to start with. This is how you grip the golf club. If you are new here, if you could please remember to like and subscribe. I put new videos like this out every single week that I'm certain will help your golf. Right, let's get to it. This is episode 1 of my Golf Swing Basic series, and so this is perfect for either new golfers or for people just looking for a bit of a refresher so that they start the new season on the right foot with decent technique. The grip is a great place to start because, as stupid as it is, you can't hit the ball without gripping the club. It's your only connection to the club and it really has a massive impact on the rest of your technique, so it's important that we get this bit right. The grip is something that we should always be trying to keep on top of, and this can be evidenced by someone as good as Scottie Scheffler hitting balls on the range at tournaments every week with a grip trainer, and what he's doing is he's just making sure that his hands are on the club the same every time. Over time, your grip can change. It can get weaker, it can get stronger, it can get palmier, it can get tighter or looser, and all those things are going to affect how you play. So if one day your grip is a couple of degrees stronger than it normally is, you're going to start to see some more left shots. And if you want to play consistently this year, not only do you want to get your hands on the club correctly, you also want to do it consistently. So this is where we start. I always start with golfers gripping the club in their top hand. So I'm right-handed, so that's my left hand. If you're a left-hander, then this whole video is going to sound a bit weird, so just reverse everything that I do. The most important thing in this top hand grip is getting the club right down the fingers of our grip. So I like to lay the club down almost at my finger ends, at the fingertips, and then grip with the rest of the fingers, and then put my thumb down just to the right hand side of that logo. How I know I've done this correctly is I can hold the club with my index finger and the pad of my palm and just balance and waggle the club like this. If I had a grip that was too palmy, which is generally what we see is the mistake, then as I try to do that, then it would just slip out my hand and I wouldn't have that same control. So I'm laying the club in the fingertips, I'm then gripping it with my fingers, and then I'm putting my thumb on the right hand side of the Golf Pride logo. A good reference point for this is the V created by your thumb and finger pointing up towards your trail shoulder. I don't like to see people with a massive gap between their thumb and their hand because I think that you don't quite have as much control there. I like to see the thumb and the hand nice and connected, a nice tight line that points up to that right shoulder. A good drill to know whether you're doing this properly is if you grip the club in your palm and hold the club out in front of you, if you waggle the club back and forth like this, then that club will actually hit your wrist. Where if you grip the club in the fingers and waggle the club side to side, you can see that there's a decent amount of clearance between the end of the club and my wrist, which just means I'm going to be able to release the club hard. Once you've got your left hand or your lead hand on the club properly, gripping the fingers, thumb in the right place, and that line pointing up at my shoulder, now we can put the trail hand on, so my right hand. So again, I'm going to lay the club down right in my fingers, grip it with the fingers, and then put the rest of my hand on. Now you want your trail hand to sit on top of your front hand, so this gap here created by like my thumb pad and like the palm pad creates a little U shape, and that's where I'm going to place my thumb, gripping the fingers, thumb in that U. And now I don't mind whether you overlap, interlock or baseball. I interlock. Most golfers seem to sort of overlap. Tiger and Jack Nicklaus interlock, so whatever. Or baseball's absolutely fine. Now, as long as your thumb and your hand are connected, it doesn't really matter. What I don't like in a baseball grip is if the hands get too separate, because then you've got two different forces, two different hands applying different things on the club, and that is just gonna, again, it's gonna make you inconsistent. So let's get those hands working together, overlap or interlock, get the hands nice and on top of each other, gripping the fingers. So sometimes you see golfers and it just looks like their hands were born to go on a golf grip. And the reason that is because they have a good amount of pinch in their thumb and forefinger, and then that forefinger just sits slightly away from the rest of the fingers. And what that does is it really gets the grip in the end of your fingers. And I now feel like I've got really good control over where that club face is pointing. So imagine you were going to take a pen and write your name on the board. You wouldn't hold the pen like this in your palms, you'd hold it in your fingers because that's where you've got the most control. So that's really what you want to try and do with that index finger, is separate it from the rest of your fingers, pinch the thumb and forefinger together. And what you'll see there is, again, that line created by my thumb and forefinger should point somewhere between my chin and my right shoulder. So once you've got your hands on the club correctly, you should be able to waggle your wrists, uncock and cock your wrists, flex and extend, twist, all really easily. If you've got a palmy grip, a lot of that is going to feel a lot more difficult, and you're going to just have trouble delivering maximum speed out of your wrists. Okay, now, do you want a strong grip or a weak grip? Or what even is a strong grip and a weak grip? So a stronger grip is where your hand are more turned away from the target. So my left thumb would be more over to the right side of the club. That line created by my thumb and forefinger would point way off to the right somewhere. And then my right hand would sit somewhere like this. Now, what that does is that closes the club face. So you can see as I swing, that club face is very closed. And generally that would make me hit the ball to the left. Oof. Yeah, straight into the projector. A weak grip would be the completely opposite. So hands too much turned towards the target. Left thumb would be sat down the left side of the grip and the right hand would be over there. And what you can see is, as I swing back, that's going to get the club face really open and make me hit the ball out to the right. So pretty weak. Now there's no right or wrong when it comes to like strength of grip. So I personally prefer a player to have a stronger left hand grip, but then a neutral to, or maybe even weaker right hand grip, because I think that gives the golfer a good amount of balance in the shoulders, in the hands. I think as a general rule, if most golfers lose the ball out to the right, having a stronger left hand or stronger top hand is going to help that ball go a bit straighter. A bit like that. So as a rough guide, if I was teaching a beginner, what I would say is get the left thumb down the right hand side of the grip, keep the finger pinched, make sure it's in the fingers, get the right hand on top. And I want the line from the left hand pointing to the right shoulder, and then the line created on the right hand pointing fairly straight upwards. And that gives me a good amount of control in my fingers, a bit of help to get that club face turning over more left on the way through, and that should help me hit generally pretty straight balls. Now grip pressure is also an interesting debate, because actually some golfers would say they grip the club really tight, because how could you possibly swing the club at 120 miles an hour gripping it loose? And other golfers would say they grip the club really loose. Now I would prefer to people to stay on the softer end of grip pressure. I'm a big fan of letting the hands release and sort of having a loose enough grip so that can be a bit of reactivity. And I'm a big believer that having a looser grip is going to help be a little bit more reactive as you come down to the ball, so you can get a bit more speed and maybe save a shot a little bit better. But I am also aware that when you swing fast, you do grip it hard. So there's no real right answer. It's a bit of a grey area. I'm definitely sat on the fence there. I think you have to feel like you've got a good enough grip to where you've got control, but I don't want you strangling the club, because that makes the rest of your upper body stiff, which is going to stop you hitting good shots. The key things in the grip are really just making sure that your hands are well connected, we've got the clubs in the fingers, and we're able to use our wrists and hands to generate speed and control the club face. Something that you should be doing is practicing your grip. So just at the start of every session, making sure that you're just going through that routine of club in the fingers, thumb over the top, club in the fingers, thumb over the top, pinching the thumbs and index fingers together, and just making sure that that finger is away from the other fingers, slightly triggered, to give us that ultimate little bit of control. And if you stay diligent with this and make sure that your grip is the same every single time, then you've got a great chance of hitting good golf shots, but also hitting good golf shots repeatedly, being consistent and hitting the ball straighter and helping you score lower. because there's nothing worse than realizing that you've gripped it poorly, hooked it left, cost yourself a shot when actually all that was being lazy. So let's not skip out on the grip. It's not the most exciting topic, but it is a really important one. Get your hands on the club properly and you will get yourself off to a good start of making a good swing or straightening out those golf shots.